The Story of the Young Girl, Taken by the Eagle in Tajima Province, Part 1. Once upon a time, there was a person living in the village of Kawayama in Nanmi District, Tajima Province. This family had a young daughter who, while lying on the ground in their garden, was seized by an eagle that happened to fly over. The eagle snatched her up, soared into the sky, and flew eastward before disappearing from view. The girl's parents, seeing this, wept and tried to pursue the eagle, but it had ascended too far for them to reach. After more than 10 years had passed, the father of the girl who had been taken by the eagle had business to attend to in Kasai District, Tango Province. He stayed at a local household there, which had a young girl about 12 or 13 years old. One day, this girl went to a well on the main road to fetch water. The man from Tajima, also going to the well to wash his feet, encountered her. At that time, several local children gathered at the well to fetch water. The local children took the bucket that the Tajima girl was using. The Tajima girl, distressed at having her bucket taken, tried to resist. The local children mocked her, saying, "You are merely the leftover of the eagle's meal," and they continued to scold her. The Tajima girl, beaten and crying, returned home. The Tajima guest also went back. The head of the household asked the girl why she was crying, but she only cried without answering. The Tajima guest, having observed this, detailed the situation and inquired, "Why did they call this girl the leftover of the eagle's meal?" The head of the household responded, "On such and such a day in such and such a month, the eagle took away a child, and when the sound of the child's crying was heard, I went to see and found the child there. I took her in and raised her." The local children, having heard this story, now mock her. Upon hearing this, the Tajima guest recalled his own child being taken by the eagle and, realizing that the time and date matched, asked, "Could this be my own child?" When he asked whether the girl's parents had been heard of afterward, the head of the household replied that there had been no further news of them. The Tajima guest, believing that this was indeed his child, told the story of the eagle taking his child and continued to weep. The head of the household, moved by the deep connection of this coincidence, willingly accepted the guest's plea. He agreed to raise the girl as if she were his own, and henceforth the girl maintained ties with Tajima, being raised as a grandchild by both families. Indeed, this is a rare and wondrous tale. It is extraordinary that a child who was to be eaten by an eagle was instead left to live. This must be a result of karma from a previous life. The tale is passed down as an example of the profound connections between lives, thus, the story has been passed down. The tale of the Inaba River flood in Mino Province. Once upon a time in Mino Province, there was a large river called Inaba River. When it rained and the water level rose, the river would overflow immensely. Therefore, people living along the river would build their house ceilings strongly and solidly like a floor, so they could climb up and stay there when the water came. The men would also use boats and swim, but the children and women were placed on the ceiling. The common people called this ceiling Seek, Sek. 20 years later, during a time when the Inaba River overflowed enormously, a house with 2 or 3 women and 4 or 5 children on the ceiling was carried away by the flood. Since the river was so high, the pillars of the house floated and the roof remained intact, allowing the house to float like a boat. As the house drifted away, people on high ground wondered if those on the floating ceiling would survive and what would become of them. As they were drifting, a fire started on the ceiling, and strong winds blew the flames onto the boards, making people fear that they would burn to death while being carried away by the water. Despite their cries for help, no one came to their aid, and eventually the house burned completely, and everyone inside perished. Amidst this, a boy of about 14 or 15, having escaped the fire, jumped into the water and continued to float. Observers thought, "The boy has escaped the fire, but he will surely drown in the water." However, the boy grabbed a green leaf from a tree, which was shorter than the grass, and clung to it. He realized it was a branch rather than just a leaf. As the river's water level gradually fell, the boy held onto the branch and, as the water receded, saw that it was part of a large tree. The boy, seeing no other option, prayed to Kanon and cried out for help, but no one heard him. He thought, to escape the danger of the water, I am now facing the danger of the fire. If I escape the fire, I might fall from this tree and die. Just as he despaired, his cries were faintly heard by some people who wondered, what is that sound? They discovered the boy clinging to the branch and thought there might be a way to save him. Though it was difficult to reach him, they decided to gather many nets and stretch them out below the tree to catch him if he fell. The boy, still praying to Kanon, jumped onto the nets as they were stretched out. Despite the distance, he landed safely on the nets. Thanks to the Buddha's miraculous intervention, he survived. The people carefully brought him down, and after a while, he was revived. Indeed, surviving such a perilous situation was considered a sign of strong karmic retribution from previous lives. Those who heard of this event marveled at the boy's survival, even to neighboring countries. It is said that this story teaches us that human life depends greatly on the karma of previous lives. Thus, the story has been passed down. The tale of Fujiwara Akihira's encounter with the secret lover. Once upon a time, there was a scholar named Fujiwara Akihira who was serving as the head of the university. When he was young, he secretly met with a lady from a respectable household. Um, One time, he was unable to sleep in his own quarters, so he asked a commoner living by to set up a place for him to sleep in the lady's quarters. Since the house was small and the husband was away, the lady arranged a place for him to sleep by laying out mats in a corner. Um, the husband of the house, having heard about the secret affair, planned to catch Akihira in the act that night. He informed his wife that he would be away for several days and secretly positioned himself to observe. Unaware of this, Akihira went to the lady's quarters and lay down to sleep. In the dead of night, the husband secretly came in and, hearing sounds that suggested a secret meeting, suspected that Akihira was there with the lady. In the dark, he approached with the intention of killing Akihira. As he was about to strike, he noticed something unusual through the moonlight filtering through the gaps in the ceiling. Seeing a long sash, he thought, if this person is wearing such a sash, it must be someone from the upper class, not just an ordinary lover. If I am mistaken, it would be very inconvenient. Noticing a fine fragrance and realizing that the situation was different from what he expected, he reconsidered and decided to check more carefully. When he heard a gentle voice which did not match the lady's usual tone, he realized it was not his wife, but someone else. When Akihira was surprised and asked who was there, the lady explained that she had borrowed a high ranking woman's attire for the night, which was a misunderstanding. The husband, who was actually Fujiwara Akihira's younger brother, had come to check on the situation. Akihira was deeply relieved and astonished at the misunderstanding. His younger brother was a subordinate in the household of Fujiwara's family and often visited him. In truth, the appearance of the sash saved Akihira's life. This incident teaches that while one should be cautious about sneaking around, the circumstances of life often depend on one's fate. The story of how Akihira survived this perilous situation due to the sash's appearance is a testament to the role of karma and destiny in one's life. Thus, the story has been passed down as a lesson on how all things are influenced by one's past actions. The Tale of the Guardian of Mutsu Province, Part 5. Once upon a time, in the province of Mutsu, there were two brothers of great renown. The elder brother was distinguished in every respect beyond the younger. As the governor of the province, he was constantly occupied with state affairs and seldom stayed at home, which was located about 100 cho from his residence. The estate was known as the residence of the guardian. In his younger years, he had no children, and he earnestly wished for an heir to inherit his wealth. As he aged, his wife, who was over 40, became pregnant unexpectedly. Both husband and wife rejoiced at this news. When the time came, they had a beautiful, well-formed son. The parents cherished and cared for the child dearly, never taking their eyes off him. Unfortunately, his mother died shortly after his birth, which was a deep sorrow for them, though they could do nothing to change it. The father, determined that his son would not have a stepmother while he was still a child, decided not to remarry. His younger brother, who also had no children, saw the boy's strict and loving nature and agreed to adopt him as his own. The guardian father was pleased with this arrangement, stating, "Since the mother is gone and I am raising him alone, it is indeed a source of joy that he is cared for with a shared heart." As time passed, the boy grew to be around 11 or 12 years old. His appearance was handsome, and he was not only well mannered, but also wise beyond his years. He learned and understood the teachings he was taught, which endeared him to his grandparents and even to the household servants, who all loved and cared for him deeply. During this period, a woman of note in the province, who was of advanced age and without a husband, heard about the guardian's situation and proposed to become his wife, offering to act as the child's guardian. Although the woman's intentions were perceived as strange and unsettling, the guardian was convinced by her earnestness and accepted her proposal. The guardian's son, now 13 years old, was loved and cared for by the new stepmother. However, the guardian's age was advanced, and the stepmother began to think about securing her future. She noticed that the boy was growing up and that the guardian's wealth would eventually pass on to him, so she decided to act quickly. She planned to ensure her own security by securing the boy's future. When the boy was 13, the stepmother began to show concern over the guardianship of the boy and the possibility of his future inheritance. She questioned whether there might be other candidates for the boy's care, but found the existing arrangements to be unsatisfactory. On a certain day, the guardian went to the castle for some time and did not return home. The stepmother seized this opportunity and, with the help of servants, began to plan the boy's future more actively. She even suggested that the boy should be taken to a remote area and buried alive to secure her position. The guardian's nephew, having overheard the stepmother's sinister plan, resolved to save the boy. He hurriedly went to the remote location where the boy was being taken. He arrived just in time to find the boy who had been buried up to his neck and saved him from certain death. The boy was initially in poor condition, but was revived with water and care. The boy was eventually brought back to his uncle's house. The stepmother, despite her earlier schemes, was pleased to see the boy's return and welcomed him with joy. The guardian, having been informed of the situation, was deeply moved by the loyalty of his nephew and the stepmother's change of heart. Thus, the story has been passed down.